All right. Well, thank you all for coming and joining our session. I want to introduce you to Mona Rakibi, and she is going to lead the session with Bill and ZoomInfo. So I'll leave it to you, Mona.
Thank you so much. Thanks, folks. I'm Mona Rakibe. I'm the co founder and CEO of Telmai. A little bit about Telmai. Telmai is a data observability company that was established to really solve the long pressing need of data quality. Both me and my co-founder felt that this problem that's been existing in our enterprise ecosystem needed a very dramatic shift of how we address it, leveraging the technology that we have access to now. Like 4 years back when we started Telmai, we started it with an idea of AI first DQ, leveraging the principles of observability. That time, as we all know, machine learning was the AI we knew. Recently, Hasmik asked me, "Hey, but I'm not using the AI features yet," and I was like, "Classical machine learning." So anyway, so that was, we started thinking that there is a much better way of doing data quality, which is like being more proactive, doing it at scale, doing it at the source of the data, finding issue before there is downstream impact, and doing a lot more automation, so the teams are not spending too much looking at data quality issues. So that was the vision and mission with which Telmai started. uh, Fast forward today, we have customers, great customers, especially customers like ZoomInfo and Bill.com, who have really shown us what it takes to embed data quality into their pipeline, into the AI first thinking. And so it's a pleasure for me to have two of our marquee customers, ZoomInfo and Bill.com, here. Hasmik, who comes from ZoomInfo. I believe everybody knows ZoomInfo. ZoomInfo is, she'll talk more about her company. She's going to do the best, but I'll talk about Hasmik because, as we all know, like we don't always do justice when we introduce ourselves. So Hasmik has close to 20 years of experience in the space of engineering, data engineering. Right now, she's managing a big, mighty team of data engineering, managing the complex data ecosystem of ZoomInfo. Imagine ZoomInfo has data about all of us, everybody in this room, and Hasmik manages that in a safe, secured way. So that's a big responsibility. So she is an engineering leader there. We have Indra here, who comes with a deep background on the data AI products, machine learning products. He's director of product management at Bill.com. Indra also has experience with Twitter, another great leader who has been thinking with different principles of how do you embed data reliability into data pipelines. I got this question last evening at dinner, that completely different verticals, completely different use cases, and they use Telmai. And I was thinking last night, what is the similarity? There's a lot of similarity at the tech stack, but think about these two companies. Within 20 years of their inception, they're IPO'd, they're successful, they have disrupted their own industries. And I see day in and day out how they're disrupting even how they build data products. So again, without too much, I'm going to hand it over and to Hasmik and Indra, and we are going to have an amazing panel discussion, and we'll open it up to all of you also to ask questions about how they are embedding data quality and observability in their data pipelines.
Thank you. So I hope that everybody knows ZoomInfo. It's I think any company in the world I've seen to be our customers at one time or the other. But ZoomInfo is a go-to-market intelligence platform. It provides contact company data and enables the marketing and sales organizations with data that they need to make better decisions, basically, make them more successful. So our data, but we generate about dozens of different data sets. We have company data, contact data, technographics, firmographics, signals. We have recently released Copilot and all AI-based, insight-driven data sets that we generate every day. And all of you know, but generation of the data comes the quality of the data. And we do have them, like any other data organization. So I added few points in the slide, but it's fine. I can talk to it. So the most important thing um, about the data quality in our pipelines are, if you can think about the data quality as a minor issue in your pipeline, as it travels through the pipeline and it has an impact on other data sets, it just becomes a huge problem. As an example, we acquire company descriptions. This is something that our acquisition team generates. So if that data is not good, everything else after that, where we look at the description to extract the industry of the company, to extract the headcount revenue, to extract other firmographic data from it, becomes bad. So the fact that we have to get that data set correct has an impact on all the other attributes that we generate down the pipeline. And then it has an impact the way we attach contacts to the companies. Now you have a bigger problem if all of those are wrong. So find the issues, anomalous issue at the root of it, fix it. That's a minor problem to fix, as opposed to create something that gets created down the line and it's a huge problem and now you have to revamp the entire thing. And should I go next? Sure. And then, so our pipelines, I mean, this is kind of a simplified version, but that's general. I think any pipeline looks like that, where you buy a lot of sources. We buy a lot of sources. We have, we do acquire our sources. And the way it works is you consume the sources and it goes into your pipelines where it goes through the normalization, entity resolution, unified entity configuration stuff, and then we generate the source of truth. And that source of truth used to get just pushed into our search platform, and now it's available for customers. So when it's on the search, it's now exposed to our customers. So as you can see, so we do some normalization, some validation in the pipeline, which it can catch some of the errors. But if you have anything that is aggregated, if let's say we acquired some data that caused 50% of our companies to go inactive, well, that's a huge problem. Now you got that exposed to the customers as it goes to the pipeline, and you don't really per entity it looks okay, but if you look at it as an aggregation, it doesn't look okay. So this the next slide is what we changed after integrating with Telmai. So the team has helped us build a lot of pipelines around Telmai in order to kind of shift into sort of this model. So data sources come in as usual, and they go through the pipeline. And then instead of from the source of truth going to the search, we actually keep the data there, and we have DAGs that run the Telmai on the source of truth data for all the updated data. And we have a lot of definitions and data quality rules and policies that get run at that point. And if it does fail any of those tests, we push that. So there's a pipeline, Zapier pipeline that the team has built that pushes that into our Slack channels. And we know that there's a failure in the pipeline and we don't publish it. So somebody has to go look, somebody has to go validate, and then they go back. We might have to run the pipeline again, and then if it passes, it gets published. So like you can see that we kind of prevent the data being exposed to the customer and then fixing it. We catch that before even it's published. So this has, I think, has helped us a lot in terms of catching some of the anomalous data that we used to publish to our customers.
I'll chime in a little bit with Hasmik here. The pattern I typically see, specifically with data observability companies, is that they monitor data. What is different from ZoomInfo is they have actually made this actionable by separating the good and the bad data in stream in the pipeline in an automated way. So it's no longer just a notification that needs like a lot of root cause analysis and looking. I'm sure they do that, but at least there is data that is controlled way going, clean
Yes.
data going to the consumer without latency in the data, which is a very big step from my observations across the industry, from moving to a reactive model to really truly automated and orchestrated data quality.
Yep. And one of the other one, if you go to the next one, is which this was a big change that we made recently. We do acquire, so we have an acquisition team that has crawlers that goes into the network and acquires a lot of data, and that used to get pushed directly to the pipeline. So that was, if anybody's worked with crawlers, you know that the proxies have issues, they could have problems, they might generate bad data. So we used to get things that were anomalous, right? Push it to the pipeline, and then sure, pipeline might alert, and then now you have to go back and stop the thing and go back, like remove the data, rerun it again. I just like that whole correction mechanism is much harder to do. But in this case, what we did was crawlers write into a temporary storage. And since the crawlers are streaming, we decided to run microbatch. So again, we have DAGs that at a cadence runs the Telmai policies on that data. And based on the data set itself, we have different rules and different policies. Again, we kind of voice the alert. And then if it's good, we then publish it to our entity pipelines. And this was the biggest thing, because we already caught multiple issues with with SEC data, where we were getting the company revenues. Proxy had an issue, generated null values, and we didn't consume it because we had this alert in place. So we are building more on the policies. Anytime that there is a report on a data quality issue, we've built pipelines that automatically that goes into the our DRE team, data reliability engineer, and they, at the end of finding the root cause and fixing the problem, they set up Telmai alerts, so then the next time it doesn't happen. So not only that we're like proactively adding to it, but also when there is a problem, we make sure that it doesn't happen again, which is very big for us.
Which is the right thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're doing the same problem again and again, then it's
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Hasmik.
Yeah.
I'll pass it on to the question really to the panelist here was like what are the challenges you have? And Hasmik kind of showed her ZoomInfo challenges plus a little bit about how they have addressed it with Telmai. You are on a different journey altogether. You're just getting started. What got you? What are the challenges you're seeing that you even thought about data quality and data observability as a first class principle at Bill.com?
I'll provide some context on some of our data use cases. I'll start with what our company does, what are our core workflows, how do we support our customers, and then go into details about some of the data use cases we've got both internally and externally. Bill.com, if you guys are not aware, they are an accounts payable, accounts receivable, and a spend and expense management kind of financial operations company. And their primary products are on the AP/AR and spend and expense side. So what I mean by that is the core workflows which a customer goes through on our platform is like uploading a bill on our system, adding a vendor. So these businesses are our customers, accountants and businesses. Their finance team, they'll upload a bill on the platform. It goes through an approval process, and then basically after that they add a vendor whom they have to make a payment. That vendor gets added to our network, and then they can select the payment types, and they pay the vendor through our payment rails. That's the core workflow which our APAR customers, SMB, small and medium businesses go through. On the spend and expense side, think of it like as a employee for a company where you are traveling for business. You'll upload a receipt. We give credit cards, and there's an app where manager can manage funds through it. You upload a receipt, make sure that the company policy manages with the adheres to the expenditure you're doing during your business trip, and then it gets processed, reimbursement, and then you have a physical card or a digital card which you can use, and we do the customizations on what the different businesses policies are, like spending on alcohol is allowed, not allowed, limited for daily lunches, team lunches, etc. So that's the other product. Apart from this, we have a lot of credit products like invoice financing, where small businesses who have cash crunch, they can do like these credit products, and like they can finance the invoices. And then around this, we package our product with a lot of intelligent insights to our businesses. So data becomes a key part of it. For example, if there's a business who's managing their finances through a platform, how do they know which are their top vendors? What is their spend trends across different periods of time? What are the anomalies they are seeing in like spend for a particular vendor versus not? So things like that. So we have like a cash flow forecasting and an insights product, which is a part of our offering as a SaaS, which basically enables these businesses to make intelligent decisions about their cash flow management. Now, moving to some of our data use cases internally, if you think like any other company like ZoomInfo, like there are a lot of GTM, sales marketing insights which we kind of provide to a GTM and sales team to do targeted marketing and sales to our potential customers. Uh, Internal analytics, obviously being a public company, there are a lot of analytics which we have to do. Being in the financial space, there are a lot of audits and compliance things which we need to manage. We are also publicly listed company, so there's more audits, more compliance related stuff. So we have reporting and analytics and things around those internal use cases. Um Moving on to some of the and then obviously we have reports about finances, payment reconciliation within different sources of data. So those are internal use cases. For external use cases, as I mentioned initially, this insights data product and cash flow forecasting, that's one of it. Then we also have a lot of risk data, where our risk teams are basically finding some intelligent insights within this to identify and catch potential fraud actors who are trying to game our platform to do money laundering, or moving funds, stealing bank accounts, moving funds somewhere. So all those fraud and risk use cases are also big data use cases for us. The challenge which we've our goal as a company who handles such sensitive data and critical data, where we have like 500,000 customers, SMBs, and 9,000 plus accountants trust us. In this space, trust is very critical, and if we don't serve trustworthy data to our customers, the whole brand would be impacted, and the value which we provide to our customers will be impacted. So our mission is to be very proactive on governance and trustworthy of our data. And how we think about trust is providing confidence within our internal and external stakeholders who are consuming this data from us, and adhere to the SLAs which we've committed to them. And those SLAs can be on availability, latency, operational observability, data quality, so that when they are consuming this data either for internal critical use cases or serving it to our bill external customers, they trust it from the source, and they trust the operational and standard operating procedures if things go bad. So like incident management, like reactive monitoring, etc. So where we kind of see Telmai taking into place, we are, as Mona mentioned, we are very early in the Telmai journey. We last night we just kind of integrated with them in our systems. We did an evaluation with them before signing contract, but our hope is with Telmai that we'll try to kind of see the improved operational efficiency for our teams. We run a very lean, mighty and strong internal data engineering teams at Bill, so their time is very critical. In the previous world, with a lot of open source data quality solutions, like we were using Great Expectations, the team had to spend a lot of time to managing these data quality pipelines. They were very rule based. They had to spend time to write rules. So our hope with Telmai is like we'll be able to improve the operational efficiency of the teams and also get a lot of these out of box additional capabilities like anomaly detection, which talks about like proactive data monitoring, out of the box integrations, no code, low code interface where we can scale the data quality to our analytics teams as well to make them confident about their dashboards, which they serve to their internal customers on uh, whether the quality of this data asset is trustworthy or not, should they use it to build these dashboards, etc. So scaling that with technical solutions which are more heavy on code to analytics teams has been a challenge. So we are hoping with this no code interface and low code interface and GUI, we'll be able to scale and infuse data quality across the tech stack from the source, like the data engineering platform heavy part, to also to the consumption side on warehouse and analytics teams as well.
One of the common patterns that I see specifically with the platform engineering team, what happens is that when they are building the platform, they are focused on building data products. They don't account for the time it takes for this high value data engineering team resources on looking into data issues. So when I first engaged with Bill.com team, their platform data engineering team leader said that, look, a lot of my team's time is actually spent in firefighting the data issues. And this is a very small, lean team. And I cannot afford to spend that time in reacting to these constant issues from business. And there's a pattern here, whether it's ZoomInfo, somebody else finding issues or finding. So the fundamental mindset that these companies had is that how do we stop reacting and spending our resources on these type of firefighting issues and going, and especially as Hasmik said, it's a snowball effect, right? Data issues, if they get caught at the source, $1 to find it at the source, $10 after transformation, 100 plus after some business finds, because trust is lost, impact is done, all of that. So the fundamental thing that I hear from people like Hasmik's team or Indra's team is that these people really want to put this problem back, automate it, and really move towards building faster data products and focus on the latest and greatest and things that have business impact, like building AI products. Um, I'll move to the next question, but Indra, there's fundamentally something changed, right? Like these problems have been always persistent. Did anything change as you move towards more AI stuff here?
Yeah, I mean, initially the data has been, Mona, as you know, the lineage of that data and the source of the errors when it comes upstream was easy to track and kind of relate to the business problem or the business outcome which you were seeing in the pipelines. uh, that process with the new AI generation is changing. Now, once the data goes into an AI, if the output of that AI application is not what you expect it to be, it's very hard to trace it back to the exact data issue at the source or during the data lifecycle stage, during transformation, aggregation phase, or post computation, pre computation, or ingesting the source. So, to build a trustworthy AI application, it's very, very critical that you start observing each of the part of these data lifecycle pipelines in a way where you can say that, okay, for XYZ issue which we are seeing upstream, we are able to map it to one of the stages in the pipeline. That's the reactive part. But the proactive part is if you have observability in place and validation and checks across as the handoff of this data happens across the life cycle, uh, you are putting validation and checks based on your knowledge. So the outcome of the AI application to go south will reduce. So we are being like kind of more cautious about it. Um, as I said in the beginning, the trust in the data, both for our internal and external applications, is very, very critical. And if we are able to not identify the root cause of any potential outcomes of these data products, internal or external, um, it leads in a position of uncertainty for our teams, and also to the business on how we can improve upon it. So this is our first step forward to kind of infuse quality, observability, and governance across our data lifecycle.
Got it. Thanks. Next question is for you, Hasmik, which is, where are the challenges around trusted data? I think everybody here can agree that data quality is still an unsolved problem in most cases, and some of us have done a better job than others. But I every single day of my life, I talk to people, and do you trust the data that's is used to build your AI models or BI? And most often the answer is no. And I cannot, I mean, it's very shocking to me even today with so much of AI around. Data quality is a very unsolved problem. And think about it for a moment. uh, Today we are sitting in a technology space where models have become a commodity. Each of us have access to a lot of sophisticated large language models. Everybody, even a startup my size, can get the best of best model at a cheap cost, right? We have access to the models, we have access to public data sets, each of us, each of your competitor. The only thing that differentiates you or is a moat is your own data. Companies like these have a lot of data, unstructured, structured, and unless we use that data in a meaningful way and make sure that data is fit for use, we are missing an opportunity. And yet, everybody acknowledges this problem, but it's an unsolved problem. So I want to push it out to both of you, because you did take a step towards solving this and you have made significant effort. You are still on the journey, but the first step is the hardest. As a startup founder, I can say that the first step is the hardest. You have made a really big progress. I mean, I can say it here. ZoomInfo is one of the most sophisticated workflows around data quality. I mean, every day I learn from them how well organized, how process oriented, how nicely they have actually solved this problem. So, where are the challenges, Hasmik, all around the industry? Why is it an unsolved problem?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard, right? Because you're looking at 450 million contacts across 250 million companies to find the anomaly and the context, and then and be able to surface those at root is extremely hard. Because in our business we have to do entity resolution. You get 100 monas. Now you have to decide which mona is which
Yeah.
mona works at Telmai. So and once you attach the mona to a different company, now you've got bad data, you have quality issues. So I think part of it is just because the volume and
I
the
see.
complexity of that is very hard. But we are up for challenge. That's why we started using Telmai. Telmai will help us, but I don't think it solves all
All
our
the
problems.
Absolutely.
But definitely we're investing in Telmai, in basically investing in automating all of that. Any data set that we have, we can run Telmai on top of it and figure out what are the records that could be anomalous and at least flag them. And then, once it's flagged, you can go back and you can massage that rule or massage that logic that says, well, this is not really the case. You have to look at this other thing. And you kind of evolve, like your policies evolve over time as you're setting up your policies. But for me, I think to get the most out of Telmai is democratizing it. Currently, we have a very small team. We actually created a team around Telmai, which is called DREs, which are data reliability engineers. And these are folks that, we have semi-automatic way of onboarding new data sets into Telmai, but it's not really automatic and it's not really easy to get the direct cause. So there's a lot of effort is done to automate all of that process. When a Telmai alert comes in, we go through a Jira workflow. We try to make sure that we're not duplicating the errors, and then it gets sent to a Slack channel, and a Jira ticket gets open, and it gets assigned to a person, and you get alerts if somebody's not looking at it. So there's all these automation around it, but we still not democratize usage of Telmai. So that's our next journey. to do that and kind of shift the responsibility of the quality on the team itself. So there's a little bit of gray area who owns the quality. Obviously, people should be responsible for what they're generating, but when we set up the Telmai, it was like, okay, Telmai team owns that. Like they have to look at the issues. But
And that's not us. That's their Telmai
yeah,
team.
our
just
Telmai
like-
team, yes. But for me, I think we need to make sure that the owner, the data set owner, can set up the Telmai alerts, would be reactive to those alerts, and would take action. So we're kind of looking forward for your NCP server coming in, and hope to integrate with it so we can build our root cause analysis on top of that.
Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of break this down. So that means like it's definitely a technology problem. Our data is heterogeneous. It's all over the place. Like just take the scale at which ZoomInfo is operating. It is a technology problem, but it is also what I'm hearing from Hasmik is it's also decentralizing, because the people who understand the value of the data, the context of the data, are often not in the same team that's owning the pipeline.
Yep.
And the way you are decentralizing is by making sure they're involved in the process. I've had multiple conversations with you that they want more natural language based approach to interact with the systems. Like these are business analysts, the people who understand data products. So yes, Telma is going to give a lot of functionality where people can like just chatbot, hey, tell me which products have open issues, like use AI for some of those things. So it is definitely both a technology and people, and how decentralized our data is what I'm hearing. I do believe that ZoomInfo, at least from what I hear all the way from your CEO's level, data quality is a priority. But in most companies, that is also a challenge. And I want to hear, maybe, is that a problem at Will.com to get a top-down alignment that this is?
Yeah, so for us also, as I mentioned, like in my opening remarks, just because the criticality of the data is very core to our company and business, we don't have that problem, luckily. Um, One thing I want to double click on what Hasmik said, like we also are trying to shift left the ownership and accountability to these analytics teams, dashboards teams who are kind of consumer on the consumer side. And with the lean team, as I mentioned, it's been a problem of us becoming like the bottleneck for some of these things, and that comes and bites us. One is like the team has to context switch with all the business critical products which they are building to like serve and react to these issues coming up. And second is with the lean team, we things get escalated, and the overall kind of trust between the handshake between internal teams like the platform engineering and analytics team, that trust loses. So it comes back to the original point that processes, people, and technology needs to be combined in a ecosystem where there's trust involved with all these three major components. And quality, transparency in observability, standard operating procedure, SLAs, handshakes, all those things become a critical point.
Let me see what's the... Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about, this is a little deeper topic about open architecture, and we were talking initially about the similarities between these two companies. And for me, the tech stack was very similar, although the business was different. Both of them are users of Iceberg. Some of you might have, most of us are now familiar with Iceberg as in becoming a de facto standard of how you store your data in a lake. And open architecture was key to both of these companies when they were evaluating Telmai composability. So I want to kind of ask you, what does open architecture mean to you at Bill specifically?
For us, open architecture is a combination of three different components. The first one is the open data format.
Mhm.
Second is the industry standard protocols. And the third, I would say, is like the modular integration part. I'll summarize and unpack these three components. Open data formats, you already mentioned, Iceberg, tabular format, Delta Lake. For modular integrations, we like providing third party developer APIs through our data, standardizing them. That's what we feel makes the usage of Bill's core workflows, APAR, spend and expense, usable by third like the developers or our partners. And the industry standard protocols, I'll give you an example. In our use case, we have this product called sync product within Bill, where our small and medium businesses can sync data on Bill to the accounting softwares like QuickBooks. So we are using a very standardized data formats with these accounting firms of financial data, through which there's two-way sync possible between these products. So for us, that's open architecture and using industry standard modern tech stack is the core part of it. And the thing which covers or kind of horizontally scope across these three components is transparency, observability, both operational and quality wise, incident management, and SLAs.
Thank you. And I know you have similar philosophies because you wanted to use tools that would interoperate, like literally table stakes for us to have a conversation with ZoomInfo was like, would we integrate with their today's data architecture, futures data architecture, past
Yeah.
data systems? So
Yeah, I mean, ZoomInfo has been around for a while. So
yeah,
we've been at GCP, we have presence in AWS, we have data all over. The governance is not very good. So like I can admit that. So that's also something we're working on. But I think by using the Starburst and over Iceberg, it kind of democratized how we access the data, and it made our Telmai integration much easier because you don't have to now use different connectors, all that you go through the Starburst. So I think that made a huge difference for us. We still have like some challenges, but I think I would say that at that case, like we use Telmai, other connectors from Telmai to connect to the data. But for me, it's just democratization of all this process, the quality
yeah.
process, the data itself, the data governance, all of that has to come together to tell a cohesive story.
Yeah. And I also feel that's one of the reasons why data observability or even data quality is unsolved problem. I've spoken to some of you also over the last few days that every enterprise is running in such a heterogeneous data
Yes.
systems, like no tool left behind is a philosophy, especially for large companies. Like they have Snowflake,
Yeah.
Databricks, like whatever the sales, whoever sales engineers or salespeople are selling the hardest, they get all those tools lined up. But how do you make sure that you validate data across these systems in different formats? Some is JSON, some is like the complexity keeps increasing. So, and you don't want to tie your data reliability tool stack to a tool because you are not going to be attached to a tool forever. And especially with M&As like ZoomInfo, every company that they acquired brought in their own set
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
tools,
Yeah.
own set of data ecosystems. So yeah, thanks for that. Okay, let's talk about business value, the hardest one. How do you talk about business value, especially when you talk about every CDO here wants to talk about AI and stuff? So, how data reliability can be justified, and what is the business value that you have seen through adopting Telon?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we set up Telmai, our chief data officer was like, "Well, where is this Telmai? Where are the alerts? Why am I not seeing anything?" So like, we had to kind of. It wasn't at a form that he could consume it, but we did after this, cleaning up things and making it much better, where you can actually go from the alert to the root cause. When he saw that, he was convinced. So like this is the value of it. Like I mentioned the previous example where we acquire the vitality data and we mark our companies active or inactive. We had a proxy issue and then we got the wrong data. And now what would have happened if you consumed it?
Yeah,
50% of our companies would go inactive, and that's like somebody's
huge.
head would roll.
Yeah,
So it is it's like that's the example that you can like. There's not much you can say by just saying, well, okay, here, like we didn't consume it, we
mm,
protected ourselves, and that's the business value
yeah,
because we like in the past, like any other growth company, we went through a lot of CIs, we went through a lot of data incidents where things like that would happen, and we would be sitting at home like till 9 p.m. trying to restore the data, backup, and all of that. Now it's much better.
So we gave you some hours of sleep back, Hasmi.
Yeah.
You owe me for that.
Yes.
I know we are 5 minutes out, so definitely chime in, and I want to give some time to the audience if they have questions. So
Yeah, I'll quickly wrap up, Mona. I think for us, the outcome of our core customers, SMBs, accountants, how do we leverage our data with trustworthiness so that they can spend less time on our platform? So the
interesting.
workflow automation is a key component of it. So leveraging our data for more and more use cases to help our customers is where we want to kind of
I see.
do more on.
So you want to automate the data and automate in a way that your users get a lot of stuff done without really spending time
Exactly.
on the tool.
Yep.
And data is a foundation to that, and
Exactly.
reliable data is
Yep.
that's a
And
pretty
democratizing data is one aspect to it. Trustworthiness is another aspect, and leveraging more of it.
got it. Awesome. We are almost over time, right? So
Julia Chair Shore, New York State Department of Financial Services. It seems like both of your companies deal with a lot of different entities, whether it's customers or, for your, go-to-market efforts. How are you looking at the question of entity identifiers? It's a larger issue that I don't think has been fully solved, although there have been some efforts to standardize entity identifiers, which presumably would help you with data quality on your entities that you work with. So I'm curious to get any thoughts or insights on that.
Yeah. So I mean, when you say entity identifier, internally or externally? Because we have entity identifiers.
Those that are, open source,
Yeah,
externally.
but that doesn't resolve the problem, right? Like we get a lot of data for a contact, and you're trying to identify if this contact, that the source that you got actually is resolves to an entity that you already have. So the data that comes in, you have to basically do the entity resolution to say, well, like the example that I brought up, Mona that came in actually is this Mona. This piece of data, this phone number that you got, belongs to this person. So that's our bread and butter. That's our entity resolution piece, where you kind of attach, cluster the similar snippets together to build an entity. And within ZoomInfo, you have a ZoomInfo ID, so where we actually identify the entities. But you don't get, when, let's say, customers bring their own data into our platform, you don't get that ZoomInfo ID. We need to say, well, this entity that you brought is actually this entity that we have. And that's our match process, where, again, our bread and butter. So there is the two aspect of it is, on the ingestion is the entity resolution, and on the serving is the match that we use to kind of identify the entities with our own entities and present a full picture of that entity. So I would say it's mostly entity resolution problem, and we do have IDs.
I'll give a quick perspective on this. I see it from two sides. One is like at a global level, can I say that this is Mona and like nobody messes around with my identity because everybody knows this is the identity. But then from a sales and marketing perspective, I don't want that single identity. There's a lot of things that companies like ZoomInfo help establish intelligence around, like what do I like, and that is never going to be available in the public entity. So whatever you do, you still have to do your ID type of a thing, because that's
IDs
different
and where
goals.
we expose them to the customer. But if you say, well, what is a contact in ZoomInfo? It's basically a persona. It's a person. It's a contact that is identified by some attributes, but we have our IDs that are attached to our contacts, but that contact is identified by phone number, where they work, what is their title. So it's basically B2B data. So it's around that information. But it's an entity resolution. I see that as an entity resolution problem.
Yeah, actually, it's quite related because I was somehow thinking about, like, I don't know, how does the discipline of data quality to a certain extent also have to evolve, and what can we learn actually from your examples also for who is responsible then in the end, and what roles do we have around data quality?
For data quality?
Yeah, exactly. Because in the end, I mean, it's more technical teams, if I understand it. But at the same time, you just mentioned, I mean, there's a business context, business knowledge that is behind, and so, and probably as the amount of information is growing, that business knowledge will be more and more important. So I was just wondering, only curious, like, I mean, you said you have a data reliability team, or like
yeah, so we have a data reliability mainly because we wanted to have a team that can set up the infrastructure for Telmai alerts and onboard data into Starburst. So this is all manual process at this point, which is it's time consuming, and that's the thing that we want to automate and democratize. Today, the data quality is not, I'm not going to say the responsibility, but at least the triaging the problem and understanding what the problem belongs to which team is a small team that does that. But it's not efficient. You're going to get into a bottlenecking problem. So our intention is to, again, democratize it, automate all that process. So the contact team, the team that generates our contact data, can go and add a Telmai alert, and they would receive the Telmai alert, and they could go to a chatbot and say, hey, I got that alert. What is the issue here? Can you figure out what the issue is? And then it would say, well, these are the data. This is the data came in. Seems like something went wrong here, maybe something like that. This is the vision that we're building on. And in that vision, every team that generates the data is responsible for their quality of it. You can't expect few people knowing, everything. There's room for that specialized small group, but then quality should be owned by people that are generating it.
In that case, it still should be a little bit top down, like, hey, the source owner needs to finally take some accountability. The central team can take the ownership of the tech stack to enable this team, but there has to be somebody, and I see that quite often, somebody at the top to say that this is not a back burner thing. This has to be a principle that is embedded in the culture of the company, and like source owners take the accountability. The tools like these will alert and tell that these are 20 P1 issues that are coming from this source. The consumers have to set some SLAs around what they consume, and the decentralized model will work if a small efficient team is giving the tools that these teams can then operate.
Definitely this team will build the
Automation around it and help them get more empowered.
All right, sorry, we're a few minutes over. If you had questions and you didn't get them answered, please post them in the Q&A, and we'll try to get to them in the next couple of days, I heard. And don't forget to like the session, and thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Really
much.
appreciate this.